What's up guys, D-Cell here, and over the last few days, I have been spending a lot of time within Tower of Fantasy as a free-to-play player. Now I know there's a lot of White Knights and Doomers too within the game, and with all the buzz surrounding the game, what I want to do is just cut it right down the middle and give you my thoughts and experiences as a free-to-play player. And by breaking down what I liked and disliked about the game, hopefully you as a viewer can walk away with a better idea of whether this game is worth your time and, more importantly, your money. Spoiler alert, it isn't. Let's start off on a positive note and talk about the things I liked about the game. Combat feels genuinely fun and exciting, and the stomp time mechanic is a good flavor on this style of combat system. It's skill-based gameplay that actually rewards you for getting better at playing the game. Combat itself is fast-paced and feels rewarding when you pull off a long chain of combos and you kill the baddies. The combat was fun enough that I oftentimes forgot that I was killing the same enemies over and over, which, you know, yeah, that's a thing. There are mini games which are actually fun, and they are a good way to break up what you're doing while adventuring. They happen when you pop open chests and things like that. Now the mini games themselves are pretty varied. Now I have at times gotten the same ones over and over, but for more often than not, I have had plenty of diversity. You have a maze, a shooter defense, a side-scrolling platformer, a target shooter, a 3D puzzle platformer, and there's a few I'm probably forgetting, but the most important thing is they give good rewards. And I'm talking stuff like gold summons and things to upgrade your equipment and your weapons and things like that. It give actually good rewards. Movement feels fast, and I'm not talking about mounts. You start out able to dash multiple times, so you can double jump off a cliff, dash 3 times, pull out your jetpack, cruise a bit, then dash more after your meter fills up, and just rinse and repeat. You also gain more dash stamina by playing the game normally and getting achievements and things like that. Mounts themselves are pretty varied and don't feel slow at all right out the gate. There's also an affinity-like system with the mounts that gives you some extra grinding to do, but like, honestly, I don't really care too much about that. The gacha doesn't feel overly punishing. The fact that pity carries over is a nice boon to free-to-play players. If you get an SSR early on your way to pity, the pity timer doesn't reset like many other gacha games, and you still get your guaranteed SSR at the pity amount. You can also buy non-limited dupes in the shop, which is a great way for free-to-play players to get those coveted 6-star bonuses. Now, for those of you yelling at the screen right now for me daring to talk good about a gacha system, don't worry, there's more about this discussion in the dislike section. Another thing I greatly enjoyed about this game is there is no silent protagonist or annoying character that speaks for you. I'm looking at you, Genshin Impact. And also, most of the game is decently dubbed, so the story is pretty immersive. I play games to get immersed in them. I speak English, okay? Therefore, if I'm stuck reading subtitles, I am immediately broken from that in-game immersion and reminded of the reality of this depressing cold world. Customer creation is very in-depth, and they don't immediately throw this away by making you use the character skins that you pull from the gacha system. And this is because the characters themselves double over as the weapons, so they are actually the weapons you use in the game. So if you want to use the character skins, you can. If you want to use the character you spent, hours creating, you can do that, and it doesn't invalidate it, and I really like that about this game. Also, if you're like me and you absolutely suck and are terrible at designing stuff for yourself, they have an absolute ton of presets that you can choose for to use for your benefit. Now the last thing here is I actually like the aesthetic of this game. I know it's not for everyone, it being anime and all, but hey, I really like the futuristic and sometimes Borderlands like vibe from the game. The storytelling does feel very slow at times, especially at first, but overall it's pretty decent, and honestly it was a little bit more darker than I thought it was going to be. So now let's talk about the things I disliked about the game. The combat feels straight up clunky sometimes. Animations feel stiff, and overall it's not as fluid as I would like it to be. You get stun locked behind chunky animations sometimes, which for a faster pace combat, it immediately pulls you from the high energy and can be a really frustrating and tedious experience. Time-gated chests are an absolute stupid waste of time that should never be a thing ever, period. These things suck. And at the end of the day, it is still a gacha, so pay to win is definitely a thing here. Even though the game is super generous at first, remember, this is just a tactic to pull you in and hook you for the long term. This will eventually slow down, just like every gacha game in existence. And as your summons start to slow down, the whales and the spenders will keep summoning at the same pace. So as you slow down on your summonings, their summonings continue, and the gap just gets wider and wider. There always comes a time in these games, and I mean always, when you're gonna hit that wall, the trickle's gonna start coming in, and you're not gonna get that big generous boon. It just is how it is. So be mindful of that. On this point, it has the same tried and true stamina system, and I absolutely hate this because it locks progression behind a stamina paywall. This is yet another big benefit for whales, right? Because whales can just buy money and refresh their stamina, and as a free-to-play player or a low spender, you're just not going to have the funds or the ability to do that, and this will further give advantage to the whales. Although you can purchase non-limited SSR dupes, it does not seem to be that way for the limited counterparts. And what's truly heartbreaking about this, in these types of games, most of the time the limited characters end up being like meta-defining or very strong characters, and you really don't want to miss them out, but you just don't have the funds or the ability to do so as a free-to-play player. A whale will get them every time, and you might get them once every 2 or 3 or even 4 or 5 times. And before you say, but these games have to make money too, they do, guys. Trust me, oh my god, they do. These games are making millions, if not billions, okay? So there is no reason for them to have a realistically achievable way in-game for free-to-play and low spenders to get these things in-game. There is no reason for them not to have that. They're making so much money. You will never change my mind that they wouldn't still be making all that money, because the advantage for the whales is still there. Because for the free-to-play players, it's still going to be time-gated. So while you're still stuck building up your one limited character, they have 3 or 4 limited characters. You see what I'm saying? There's no reason for this to be the way it is. And the game is kind of a buggy mess. Now, admittedly, I haven't come across some of the bugs and exploitations and hacks that the big creators like Asmongold and Tectone and MMObytes have come across. I, however, have come across my own game-breaking bug that happened to me that I haven't heard anyone else talk about. Now, I've tried to replicate this bug, but I just couldn't, so I'll just have to explain to you what happened. Now, while playing the game, my camera just stopped. Now, in game, I could still use my cursor and my mouse to click on weapons and equipment and things like that. I could move my character, run around, attack, but my camera got fixed into a locked position, and I just couldn't move my camera. Like, it was not picking up my mouse movement at all within the field. I have no idea why. I don't have no idea how. It literally just happened, and the only way to fix it was to restart the game. So yeah, it literally became unplayable for no reason, and I can't figure out why. So what are my final thoughts on Tower of Fantasy? Well, Tower of Fantasy is a fun gacha game that potentially has game-breaking bugs in it, and we'll just have to see if they actually fix these issues from the Chinese release. I unfortunately don't have time to go into all of the bugs, exploits, and things like that China have, but I will say, if the duplication bug, rears its head in this release, it's just going to be lights out for this game and pretty much, game over. The overall free-to-play experience is actually pretty fun. However, at the end of the day, remember guys, this is still a gacha game, and the whales are still going to dominate, while the free-to-play players are left sulking in the corner, wishing for what will likely never be. So my final verdict on the game: it is a very fun and enjoyable experience for what it is. However, I do not trust its developer, and I would seriously urge caution on spending money on this game until we see what they're going to do with this game, because so far they do not have a good track record coming out of China, okay? So play it, have fun with it, and don't spend a dime on it. And with that, guys, I'm going to get out of here. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.